Tidepool explorers, here we are in the Tidepool. And do you know what I'm surrounded by? Barnacles. They are incredible creatures that I used to think were just special kinds of rocks. But boy, oh boy, have I learned a lot about barnacles lately. Do you know who I used to learn from as a kid watching some cool television shows all about science? This amazing guy named Bill Nye, the Science Guy. You know what? He's going to come visit us right now and teach us a little bit about barnacles. Check it out. I'm out in the field, looking for tidepools out in the field. Yeah. I'm here on the edge of the world. Maybe it's just the edge of the earth. I'm in the Tidepool!
Bill Nye the Science Guy, Bill Nye. Bill!
Here in the Tidepool, the world is rough. Sometimes the tide comes in and you've got lots of water and critters to eat. But the tide can go out too. And when that happens, you better be careful. Make sure you're adapted to live here. The amazing barnacle, that is made for the Tidepool. Here's something incredible. Could you ever imagine finding a place so perfect and amazing that you wanted to live there for the rest of your life? Like, never move again? Barnacles can. When a barnacle finds just the right place and grows up to be just the right age, it glues its head to the rock, and that's where it stays, forever and ever. Sometimes barnacles live places like here, on rocks, the bottom of the ocean, the side of the ocean, in a tide pool. Sometimes they could be really anywhere, like this dock, for instance. The cement, the piers, anything that's not going to move, that's a good place for a barnacle to live out the rest of its life. Even something that's living. Let's say you're on this whale. Whoa. Well, if you're a barnacle, that might be a great place to live your life. Or maybe even a crab. What if you're a tidepool creature living on another tidepool creature? See you soon, everyone. Say hi to Miss Caudle. Hey there, welcome back to the classroom. I was just reading this beautiful book by Nikki McClure called Waiting for High Tide. There's this little part that I really want to show you all about barnacles. I also found a book on epic that has a bunch of information about different creatures that hold onto the rocks, and we're going to read the section just about barnacles. Let's read together. Waiting for High Tide by Nikki McClure. This is a great book with lots of detail. Oops. And you should read the whole book for sure. But for now, I'm just going to read this page, which is all about barnacles. Check this out. Check out this illustration of these barnacles. I just love the way that they are just shown so delicately, but also so strong. And look how they're all connected right there onto those glasses, those sunglasses that this child found. Okay, let me read you about barnacles. I walk along a ribbon of barnacles that stripes the upper beach. They cover the big rocks here that the waves can't tumble. When barnacles are young, they swim all over as part of the plankton that drifts in the sea. They have only one eye, just like my barnacle glasses. With it, they look for other barnacles. When they find them, they settle down and cement their heads to something solid and barnacle-y. Rocks, docks, lost sunglasses, and there they stay. During the low tide, the rocky beach gets hot and dry, but barnacles don't care. Their tough shells close tight, and they can breathe whether they're in or out of water. At high tide, barnacles feed. Tiny plates open and feathered cirri, their legs, swoop out to catch plankton. Yes, little swimming barnacles too. I could stare at them for hours and have the water cover me and still sit there watching them. The best part about barnacles is the noise they make. Miles and miles of tiny plates shifting about make a crackly, squizzling sound. Maybe they tell stories of all they saw with that one eye as they swam about in the world. What will I see? What stories will I tell? Let's check this out. Look at this life cycle here. There is that little baby barnacle, that young barnacle, swimming around. And here it is, cemented to the rock. That's its head cemented there. And there it is when it's higher tide and the legs are coming out the cirri and getting all that food and bringing it in so the barnacle can eat. Rock Stars, Limpets, Barnacles, and Whelks by Ellen Lawrence. We are actually only going to read about barnacles. So I'm going to read the introductions, and then we're going to use our table of contents to just read the parts that are related to barnacles. So here we go. The tide comes in. At a warm, sandy beach, there are tide pools surrounded by rocks. Covering the rocks are thousands of shells. They are home to limpets, barnacles, and whelks, the tide pool's rock stars. When the tide comes in, these animals disappear beneath the water. Then it's time for the rock stars to come to life. Limpets and barnacles clinging to a rock. A barnacle feeding. At the seashore, the ocean comes in and goes out twice a day. The rising and falling of the water is known as the tides. Tidepool. A rocky life. So this gives you information all about a limpet, and here's what the limpet is. You can totally check this book out on your own and read it, but we're going to go ahead and skip this part. And then it gives you more information about a limpet, feeding, and algae. They're all related, so it's very interesting to learn about all of them. But let's focus here on barnacles. Meet some barnacles. Limpets live alongside tiny neighbors called barnacles. These little rock stars stay in one spot and never move. A barnacle has a soft body and a hard shell. The top of its shell is a tiny trap door. Once a barnacle is underwater, it opens its trap door. Barnacles. Trapdoor. Question: what do you think happens once a barnacle opens its trapdoor? Ooh, if you want, you can pause the video and talk to someone next to you and discuss that. Here's our caption. Barnacles don't only live on rocks. Sometimes thousands of barnacles will make their home on a whale or the bottom of a boat. And here's our label, humpback whale, and our zoomed in photo with our label, barnacles. Look at that. They're stuck on the bottom of this animal. Grabbing a meal. A barnacle opens its trap door so it can catch food. From inside its shell, several feathery legs appear. The barnacle's legs act like a net, catching tiny bits of food floating in the water. When the tide goes out, the barnacle closes its trap door again. This keeps the creature from drying out. Here's our caption for our picture. A barnacle mostly eats tiny animals and plants called plankton. These living things are so small they can only be seen with a microscope. Here's a zoomed in picture with our label, plankton. And here's a barnacle feeding, and there are its feathery legs. Baby barnacles. When it's time to have young, barnacles mate with neighboring barnacles. After mating, one of the barnacles produces eggs. Once the eggs hatch into larvae, the little creatures float away. Over time, they grow and change shape. Finally, they're ready to cling to a rock and grow an adult shell. There's our floating baby barnacles. Here's our caption. Each barnacle is both male and female, so all barnacles can mate with each other. Here's our question. Why do you think some of these barnacle shells are empty? You can pause the video and discuss it with someone if you like. And just to show you what's in the rest of this book, if you want to read it on your own, it's all about whelks. That's this type of animal inside is a whelk, a dog whelk, and there's some empty barnacle shells. All about some eyes and eggs and baby rock stars And at the end, there's some great questions about how you can be a shellfish scientist. All right, let's make our Tidepool Explorer field guide. Here is the cover. Let's check out what we've already done. If you've joined us for lessons before, we did sea star and seaweed. We focused on kelp. And then sea urchins and sea anemones. And last time we did fish, we focused on the sculpin. And today we get to learn all about barnacles. Your first step is to write the name of the organism here. Go ahead and write down barnacle. Today we're going to focus on the adult barnacle. And so our first label is going to go right from here. These little things are called cirri or cirripeds, also known as the feet of the barnacle. And then all of these bony parts, these are the plates. Really important. They open up so that the cirri or cirripeds can get out there and get some food when the water is there, but when the water's gone, they close up to keep the barnacle nice and safe. And that's it, closed up. And then on the bottom, this is a really surprising part of an adult barnacle. This head is all the way down here on the bottom of the barnacle, and it's all stuck to the rocks or whatever else the barnacle has stuck itself to. It is time to do our scientific illustration. All right, let's look carefully at all the different parts or structures here. I'm going to make the plates first. I'm going to go ahead and start right here. So I'm going to go ahead and go out like that. Just keep making more plates that come out. Almost looks a little bit like triangle-ish, like this. There we go, kind of like that. And then it's stuck to a rock, just like when we did the sea anemone. I'm gonna show what it's stuck to. It can stick to lots of things, but I'm gonna label this rock to show that. And then we're gonna show how the top part here, they're all connected. And there's this other plate that can close up, right? And so I'll show it sort of opened like that. And then I wanna show mine feeding. So I'm gonna go ahead and show these sort of wispy looking legs, and again, those are called the cirripeds or the cirri, and they're reaching out there, these little parts, to grab some food to bring in so the barnacle can have a tasty snack. If you want, you can add a little color, maybe you can leave this white and show some background color, and or you could put a little bit of shading in there and have your scientific illustration and labels all done. And I added some little lines here to show a little bit more of the texture on those plates. And I colored in my rock a little. Don't forget the very last and probably most important part is for you to do some thinking as a scientist. So have a conversation with someone, and as you look and notice, I notice, I wonder, or it reminds me of. Write down your ideas here. Tidepool Explorers, thank you so much for joining me today, learning all about barnacles. Next time, it's our last episode. I hope you make it back. We learn about hermit crabs. See you then.